getting started with the Sheet Set Manager. Today presenting we have Jason Farelli, and then in the background to answer questions we have myself, Caitlin Chappett. We also have Christina Davis and Sean Niles. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jason.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining. I want to thank Kate for the introduction, as well as Christina and Sean for moderating. And so before we start, I just want to let everybody know that if they have any questions, they can leave those right in the chat window, and they'll be answered when we take a break. Or we'll also have time at the end of the presentation to go over any questions that may be needed. Also, if you check out our landing page, we're going to have some, that's where all the upcoming webinar webcasts are going to be, as well as previous webcasts to check out. And right now I'm going to turn this over to Christina.
Thank you, Jason. So, and you'll forgive me, I'm losing my voice. But before we start, we have a couple of polls, you know, our typical housekeeping polls about subscription and how many times you viewed our webinars. So I'm going to launch those. First one, are you an Autodesk subscription customer? Just a yes or no. And it looks like the majority of you are, so we thank you for that. And for those of you who are just coming new to the webinars, we welcome you. As well, we'd like to know how many people are viewing the webinar with you. So we realize there's usually one person with the computer in a room, but you might have a couple coworkers. And it looks like most of us are lonely viewers, me, myself, and I all together, although we do have a couple with groups of 3. So thank you very much for that. All right, and then back to the slides. As usual, we do always want to point you in the direction of some really important knowledge-based articles at knowledge.autodesk.com. The ones we've been really showcasing the past couple of weeks is definitely, if you are using AutoCAD for Mac, you do want to read the article about the new Yosemite compatibility, because unless you're on 2015, you may run into some issues. So definitely take a look at that, as well as the Microsoft update that was released. This is actually a resolved situation. And then some other areas, things related to printers and Windows 8, W block rejection, just all really good information that if you haven't run into it, this might help you avoid running into that. All right, so then before I turn it back to Jason, just to get a feel for the crowd, we would like to know how familiar you are with sheet sets. So sheet sets have been around for a couple of releases, and you might have heard of them, might have been steered away from them, might have used them a few times and like to get back into it. All right, so we have a couple people that are totally obsessed with sheet sets, want to live with them for the rest of their life. That's great. And then it looks like the majority of the crowd, you've heard of them, but you haven't had a chance to use them. So this will be a really great introduction Jason's going to give us to show us what they are, why they're important, and then a couple of tips and tricks that he's found along the way. All right, so I'll hand it back to you, Jason.
Thank you very much. So this is going to be just a real basic demo of the Sheet Set Manager, and mostly with plotting. And the general, we're going to talk about what is a sheet, how to organize drawings within the Sheet Set Manager, plotting with it, and then once I go over all that, I'll show you how to create a sheet set, and then if we have time, I'll show you some interesting things the Sheet Set Manager can do using fields and how better to take it to the next level. Okay, before we do that, I'm going to go to AutoCAD Lite right here. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is what is a sheet set. A sheet set is just a collection of your plot and reference drawings that makes up your project. And what the Sheet Set Manager is basically the tool or palette that allows you to display this collection of data to help manage your project. So there are a few ways we can open up the Sheet Set Manager. One of the ways would be go to the View tab, and right here on the Palettes panel, the Sheet Set Manager, and that will open up this floating dialog box that you can dock, etc., just like any other panel. So if we close that, another way we can do it is if you type in SSM for Sheet Set Manager, that will open it up, as well as typing in Sheet Set will also open it up. And the last way you can open it up is if you hold the Control key down and hit 4, that will also open it up. So those are the ways that you can get to the Sheet Set Manager. Okay. So I want to take a look at a sheet set that I created just to show you what it looks like, what you can expect, and just how it's organized and what you can do with it. So I'm going to click here on Open, and I'm going to hit Open. I'm going to go to my desktop here. I have my webcasts, and I have a complete sheet set which saves as a DST format. So when I open this up, basically I have a few drawings that have multiple tabs in them, and I've been able to insert them into this sheet set manager so I can view them. I can double click on one of the drawings. It will actually open up that drawing for me, and if you hover over it, it will tell you where it is, who has it open. So it's a great way to manage your drawings. A large company, if somebody's in a drawing, you don't know who it is, it will tell you right there, edited by Varelli J. And it will give you some additional information, how big the sheet file is, or the sheet is, the sheet title, and then where it is on the location. So if I double click on this, it will just bring me to that next tab, and I can open up multiple drawings this way. Okay. So we close these down real quick. So in the sheet set, I also have a couple of subsets. You can either keep everything in one, but I mean, I've used work on transportation drawings. We're talking 400 drawings, and I like to separate them by general plans, drainage plans, pavement marking plans. So within the sheet set manager, you can make these subsets. And if I want to make a new one here, say if I had curb tie plans, add that, and that would be at the bottom, and then I could populate this with my curb tie drawings that have many tabs or drawings I need to make that set, and which is great. So within these sets, what you can do, and what we'll talk about today is in plotting, is you can right mouse click on this entire sheet set at this level, and if you go to Publish, Override, I have a couple different options that I've made, and I'll show you how I've made those. I can plot this whole sheet set to a PDF, 24 by 36, 11 by 17, or I can use my small format printer here just to make hard copies, all with one click. Now I have to open up multiple sheets, and it saves so much time, especially when you're dealing with very large data sets. So that will do the whole entire sheet set. The reason why I like the subsets is because if I just want to print my drainage plans, I could just click on the drainage plan subset and do the same thing, publish, override, just those. If I only wanted one or two files, I could click one or two files, hold the control key. I could do multiple subsets, or I could do subsets and drawings. So you have a couple different options on how you want to, how many drawings you want to plot and how you want to plot them. The other things that this is great for, which I wasn't going to get into, but I'll talk about right now, is if you've ever had to e-transmit your drawings, a lot of users know you have to open up multiple drawings, hit e-transmit. You can e-transmit this whole set using the e-transmit command, so you could actually save it down to an older version, zip it up, all with one click. So that's a really great feature as well. Another thing you can do is if you set up a template, you could create a new sheet, and what that will do is it will actually pull from a template. So if you have a DWT file that you use that has your title blocks in it, etc., you can actually make a new sheet that will automatically be added to the sheet set without having to import it later on. Okay. So going over into the plotting aspect, when I talk about sheet set overrides, what this override is here is basically, if you look at the properties of the sheet set, there's a page setup override, which is pulling from a DWT file. So I'm going to go ahead and open that and show you what that is. So all this is a DWT drawing that I have created a layout tab in, and I brought in our standard title block. And in that title block, if I go to Page Setup Manager, I've made some page setups. Now, I know Volker and Christina and Sean as well did a presentation on this using making the most of layouts and page setups, and that can be found on the landing page under previous recordings. That would be a great way to, if you've never made page setups before, I would go and take a look at that screencast, broadcast, and review that information. So, so basically this is a live. So you can add as many layouts or page setups as you need for your company. If I go ahead and just remove this one real quick, and I just save this template. Now if I go back into my sheet set and I look at my overrides, that has disappeared. So this can be as advanced as you want or as minimum as you want, depending on what kind of drawings you're applying to 8x36, 11x17. What I tend to recommend customers is have one of these set up, and then when you start a new project, copy this template to that project, and that way if you have any unique sizes, you're not going to actually have one template that has every possible situation. You can actually tailor it to that project. It keeps things a little bit cleaner.
Hey Jason, there's a quick question as well, just while we have a break here. Does all this work the same on the 2014 version and in conjunction earlier versions as well?
Yeah, I've been using the Sheet Set Manager since 2011, and not a lot has changed with it. This is actually the first time I've done it in 2015, actually, but this is all the same in those other versions as well. Okay. So a couple of other things I wanted to talk to you about when plotting is, if I do use that override, so let's say I'm going to pick this sheet right here, and I'm going to go publish, override. Now there are some, again, I'm not going to get into everything here, but you can publish right to PDF, and give you a PDF, etc. The reason why I like using the overrides is because as you're having that page set up, you have control over what kind of PC3 you're using, what kind of color table you're using, your exact sizes, whereas these ones just kind of print what you see is what you get. So there's more control using the overrides, and that's why I recommend using those. So I'm going to go ahead and just plot one of these real quick. One thing I also like doing, and I don't know if Sean or Christina will agree with me, I'm a big fan of turning off my publishing background. So there's one in the background right now which I'll let go. I just wanted to show you when you publish one PDF, where does it go? You can set this in the publish sheet set publish options. By default, it will go to the user's documents folder. So if you have a sheet set, again, and this is going to be unique, so I would save this DST file as part of your project, and you have a PDF folder set for that project, you could actually point the location that anytime you made a PDF, it will go directly to that location. So you don't have to worry about saving it or anything like that. Okay. So because I didn't set that prior, I think on my end, it went to my documents page. So if I scroll down here, there's my one general plan right here. That's where it went. Now, when doing multiple PDFs, so I close this down. If I click on two of these and go to publish, it will ask me where I want to save it. So I can go ahead and save this on the my webcast folder, and it will print. And it will give me a combined, let's do that right now.
While you're bringing that up, Jason, there was a question that it appears as though sheet sets are mostly for paper space drawings, and somebody was asking if they use model space primarily, does that make any difference?
Yeah, you can only use it with layouts, unfortunately. It won't plot anything in model space. So when I did that, it printed a two-page PDF. Now, I have seen some users who want to print multiple sheets in the Sheet Set Manager, but they don't want a combined PDF. And there's a simple toggle for that, and that is the publish collate command. Having that set to a value of 1 will basically create one PDF with all your sheets. If we set this to 0, and we did the exact same thing. So if I go ahead and publish. Now, this time it did not ask me, because what it's going to do is it's going to make one PDF and it's going to go to that location I told it to. So if we go back to the documents folder, I should have two PDFs in here, my 1 and 2. So that's the way to toggle it if you want to have one combined PDF or if you just want individual PDFs for your drawing set. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back to 1. So that's the basics of what I want to show you here. I'm going to go into how to create the sheet set, and before I do that, are there any other questions, Sean or Christina?
I don't see any more at this time. Nope.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So I'm going to right-mouse click and close this sheet set. And then, so once you have the sheet set manager open, the first thing I'm going to do is, if you have a new sheet set, pick that, and you have a couple different options here. You can create sheet sets from an example sheet set. So basically, if you spent the time to develop one of those DST files that had all your subsets the way you want it, that had all your locations set, you could actually use that as a template and grab all that information so you don't have to recreate it every time. Because I don't have one, because I want to start from scratch, I'm just going to go ahead and click existing drawings. It's going to ask you to name it. You can give it a description if you'd like, and it's going to ask you where do you want to store this. I'm actually going to change this to my webcast folder. And for sheet set properties, I'll show you guys this. Again, this is where you set the page override, which I can do right now actually. And I would do the same thing. I would have you copy, or I would suggest copying that page setups DWT, that if you create one, to the project and then pointing it to that location. So I'm going to hit next, and here you can actually import sheets right now. I personally like the dialog box in the sheet set manager, not using this, so I'm going to say next, confirm, and so basically your sheet set is created and it's opened up in your sheet set manager, and there's nothing populated in here. Now, we can do it one of two ways. We can right-mouse click and we can create those subsets like I did before first, or we can import all our sheets and then create the subsets however you like to work. For this particular demo, I'm just going to import all my sheets right now. So actually, I'm going to go back. I right-mouse click on my webcast sheet set, and I say import layout as sheet. And if I go to browse to drawings, now, I made two sets of plans here because once drawings are part of a sheet set, it will not allow you to bring them into another one. For example, if I click on this drainage plan drawing here, this layout is already part of a sheet set. So if I even clicked on these and imported them, nothing would happen. Okay? So just be aware of that. You can only have one drawing linked to a sheet set at a time. So I made a new folder and I just copied those same three drawings in this new folder. That way they're not linked. You can either do one drawing at a time. If these three drawings have multiple layouts, you could have one drawing that has 100 tabs, or you could have 100 drawings. You can select individual drawings, or I can select all three. And what it will do is it will read all the tabs in those drawings. And I can just go ahead and say import checked.
And Jason, just to address a question that came up, because you're kind of right on it, John had asked, the general plans, you had GPO1, GPO2, and you were just kind of showing how they were all in one drawing, but they were the individual layout tabs within inside that file.
Yes. So so I have one drawing. I only had. I mean, again, you can do it any way you want. You could have 100 drawings. It depends on how people like to work. Where I came from before, we would only have one drawing per one layout per drawing. So we would have massive. We had over 400 drawings. I see some users who like to have, like this instance, one drawing with multiple tabs. So how you like to work, it will accommodate that. And the reason why this is showing up as general plan and profile, it basically is the name of the drawing, and then dash, and then the name of the layout. So if I didn't name these layouts. It could just say layout 1, layout 2, layout 3. I took the time to name these for this particular example, which is one thing I'll actually get into right now. Let's go ahead and I'm going to remove these real quick. And one of the options in here, so if I go back to my general plans, is this prefix sheet titles with names. What that will do is when it's checked like it is, it will give you the name drawing, like I said, and then the layout name. If you have a great layout naming system and you don't want to see the drawing name, you can just uncheck this, and when you import that, it will just give you, GPO. Now, I did notice that this doesn't always come in the correct order. I've seen that a lot, and so there is some little managing that has to be done, but it's just drag and drop. You can organize those however you want. So yeah, if you have a great layout system, layout tab system, you can just uncheck that prefix and do it all that way. I'm going to go back to checking that on. And so there's all my plans. And I do have some organization to do here, so I'll take these and move those up here. And this is a hierarchy, so when you go to print, if you have I'll get into that later on, but if this is your first sheet, I would, or if this is my first sheet, general plans come before paper markings, I would definitely move these up in the hierarchy. So to create those subgroups, which I really recommend, because again, if you're working with 400 drawings and you just have everything in with no subsets, you can see how messy it can get. So I'm going to go ahead and click New Subset. Here I'll just call them General. And I can just take those 8 drawings, just drag them down into that subset, and that way I can easily manage those. With the other ones, I'll just call this one, for the sake of time, Pavement. And last but not least, and I've created subgroups for, typical sections, curb ties, cross sections, whatever you need to do to set this up and really organize your drawings here. So I added all those. We've created our subsets. Now, one of the things we can also do to help you organize this data is if you right mouse click on one of these files and you do rename and renumber, if you didn't want to see, if you didn't want to change this title, if you didn't want to see the layout or the name, we could call this anything we want. We could just call it webcast 1. And we could also give it a sheet number. If I hit next or hit enter, it will actually open up the next dialog, and I can say sheet 2, sheet 3, hit enter, 4. And as you can see on the left-hand side, it just kind of goes through that list until it actually hits the end of the subset. It won't continue. That's one thing that I used to deal with is if you want to number all your sheets and kind of do that whole method where you just type it in and hit enter, if they're in subsets, it will stop at the end of the subset and get the pick up from the next part. However, if you import them all like I did and not put them in subsets first, you can easily renumber them and then put them in subsets afterwards if you didn't want to pick back up where the subset left off. And we already did the we already set up the page override in the properties, so it knows where the we're going to print to our DWT is. So if I right mouse click on this right now and do publish overrides, I get my PDF 24×36 and my small format printer. If that is not set, if I go into properties here, and this is left blank, or if I don't have anything, or I'll use one of these ones. I'm not sure it has anything here. That is grayed out right now. Because that template file doesn't have any page setups, you can't use the page setup override, so just be aware of that. So I'm going to go set this back to my template. And and that's basically how I used to set up my page, my sheet sets. And it's really good. It's really great when you have a lot of drawings and you need to, just basically plotting, e-transmitting. I've also used this in the case I used to have a generic sheet set that didn't actually have any sheets in it. Like this older project that when my manager was going to say, listen, I need all this plotted, and it had like 500 drawings. I would just throw everything in sheet set. I wouldn't make any subsets, just to be able to right-mouse click and print them all at once. It's a great tool, and I see the customers I've dealt with, after I've showed them this, it saves them a ton of time. So I would definitely highly recommend using it for plotting purposes. How are we doing on time? So what I want to do now is there any questions on the plotting side of it right now?
No new questions right now, Jason.
Okay. So one of the other things I love about the Sheet Set Manager, and we can save this for another webcast, as it will really take a lot to get into how to set up all the fields. I'm going to close this sheet set. I'm going to open up my complete set one here again. And as you can see, I already kind of have these numbered. Now these drawings, I set up the sheet set here. Look at the properties. And if I look at the custom properties, I have a whole bunch of custom properties I set up. Now what these do is it looks at the sheet set as a whole, or individual sheets information, and it will grab information that I tell it to populate title block information. So if I look at this first sheet right here, if I go to my title block, this is just a basic block that has been populated with fields. And you can see that this is sheet 1 of 22. If you look at my sheet set list here, about the curve tile, remove that, there are 22 drawings in here. The project number, the date I created this, Volker's project manager, apparently. The sheet title is General Plan and Profile. The project name and address, and the firm name. And this is endless. You can make any kind of basically block to set this up, and we can get into that in another webcast. But I just want to show you the power of this. Say I don't have to be in a drawing. Let's close this down. Say I needed to add my curb tie plans right after my drainage plans here, which is going to change all my numbering. So I'm going to rename this sheet here. And this is another great part of this, is you don't have to be in the drawings to renumber your sheets, or actually change even the title name. I can say, let's start at 23. So hit enter, 24, 5. So now I have 29 sheets. If I click back on that drawing, you notice that that sheet just changed. Because it recognizes the field and it recognizes that information as part of that block. Obviously the sheet total is wrong, so because that is basically data of the entire sheet set and not individual, I can go into my properties here, my custom properties, and if I expand this down and say here's my sheet total, I can now make that 29. Hit OK, regen my drawing, and that automatically changes. So you can have all your 400 drawings, and you can easily change information that pertains to all of them, or individual information like the sheet number itself, even the sheet title, just by changing this information here.
And what you're showing, Jason, is actually answering another question. You're preemptively striking all of these, but one of the questions was, why do you use Sheet Set Manager over Publish? And one really great example is the power of these fields and how you can have a lot of that information automated, because Jason's showing us just one title block, but remember, it's going to be all 29 that would get this updated, and you can just send them quickly to print. So while Publish does gather multiple drawings and multiple tabs, and you can save the list, it doesn't have that extra step of all the organization and customization tools that Sheet Set Manager can give you. And I'm sure Sean and Jason, you can expand on some other things that you guys have used it for.
Sean, you want to go ahead? Or?
I think you covered it, Christine. I think those are all great reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I used to work on 400 sheet plans, and prior to myself working with Sheet Set Manager, I think one of the other attendees said that they work in monospace. That's how I used to work. I would have my everything in model space, and I would use XClip, and I would make views, and then I would actually write script files to do my plotting for me. Not easy, not fun, hard to manage, especially when things get changed around. When I found out about the sheet set manager, I changed. Everybody said we're going to stop using model space. Everybody's using layout tabs now. This is amazing. And again, this is only a fraction of just the plotting itself. I fell in love with the sheet set manager, and then once I started playing around with the fields and how you can populate the information, because I mean everybody's going to have a sheet number or some kind of information that they want to change. You can also do this through XREFs, but having it all here and being able to not be in the file, so if you need to renumber your sheets, is a big pro in my book. And if that's something that people are interested with, I can definitely do another webcast showing how to set up these sheet sets, because there are some tips and tricks. It is very case sensitive. Everything has to be, I can actually explode one of these and show you real quick. So that's pretty much what they look like. And if we look at the properties here, everything here should match. Let me do this. So let's do this, undo. If I click within here, say for the working with sheet sets, if we look at the value, if I edit the field, this is called project name line 1. So that particular property has to match perfectly case sensitive to what I have over here in my custom properties. If that wasn't dead on, project name line 1 with the spaces and the case sensitive, it would not update my fields in the sheet. So those are the kind of couple things you have to work out, and there's a lot of people who are just starting out with fields and using the sheet set manager. That's where they kind of run into these little roadblocks. So, but again, if this is something that people want to learn more about, I like to introduce people to the sheet set manager with the plotting, because it is a great tool, or e-transmitting, organizing just for that aspect. It's great. Once they get used to navigating through it, then I kind of introduce people with the fields, and then they just take it from there. So, and that went a lot quicker than I thought. So we got plenty of time for questions, or I can be more than happy to show anything else, or we can get into the fields now, I guess. Questions?
Hey Jason, it's Kate. Doesn't really look like there's too many questions, so if you want to go ahead and tell us about the fields.
Yeah, okay. So
and actually, I apologize.
Let's go ahead and I'll make, let's see. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So I think there was just a little confusion over fields that publish and plot can update versus the custom fields that you can get with Sheet Set Manager. So you can maybe touch on that.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're...
So the question was publish updates fields when you plot to. There's a little confusion on how that works, but when we publish, it would do things like the device printed to kind of plot stamp information, as opposed to these are custom fields that you had to create to make sure that all 400 sheets have that address, that project manager, that client name.
I think if I understand the question, here, when you publish, it will update it. So basically, let's take a look at a field. I'm going to make a text real quick, and we can take a look at what a field. So there are a number of fields that can be done, and there's a whole section just for sheet sets. However, date and time, document fields. So if there's a file name, when you publish, it will pull the information from the file name, or it will pull the date, date and time, or pull any certain objects and kind of refresh that information just to make sure that the information there is current. Whereas in the sheet set, you can set this up to give actual data like I have here. So you know, like the project name, your company name, the title names, that stuff's going to be unique, and you won't find that in the regular data. That's something that I'm going to create, make as many lines as I need, and the publish command won't pull that information, but the sheet set with manager will. Does that answer the question?
Let's see what people type in. So yeah, it might be, it sounds like we actually have another topic for a whole other webinar as well to go deeper into fields and formulas and how those all work together. But I don't see, we'll see if anybody types in anything additional.
Yeah, so what's great about this is, you know, like I said, I have multiple drawings here, and if we look at each one of these drawings, you know, like I said, I have the project name and the, you know, the project address. If I came in here and did properties, and I changed all this around, so let's just change the, which one's this? This is the project name and address, okay. So let's say the project name, say the number, I don't know, project name webcast 2. Test. And let's change this from commercial way to commercial street. You know, small little changes like this. And we'll just make this you know, so simple changes like this. If I hit OK and hit regen, all that information just updated for every single one of my drawings. So if I go to my journal plans and we do regen, all that information trickles down through every single drawing that I have that's a part of the sheet set. But these drawings will only pull that information if they're part of the sheet set.
Okay, and thank you. Jason expanded a little bit on his question, so he's saying the fields make sense, but maybe, you know, because we're presenting at a, you know, we have a small timeline here, it kind of looks like they're all just there and they appeared magically. So yeah, we kind of did the Food Network sort of way of, we're starting here and here at the end we have a cake. We're sort of showing that these are extra things you do. So these are some things that we can expand on in longer webinars and start totally from scratch, but these are just some extra things Jason wanted to throw in. But yes, he did have to go through that first time and set up his title block, put the fields in, set the custom fields in the sheet set manager, and then, yeah, once that setup is done, going forward, probably most of your projects are going to have a lot of those same fields, unless you change your title block very often, so it'll save that time afterwards. But that first time, as you know, we all know, the first time can take a little bit of setup.
Yeah, I think most users I've dealt with, they have this information as part of their, if they use XREFs or they use a block, they'll insert the block or insert the XREF that already has information like this, part of it, so that if they ever do need to change something, if they have to go under drawings, they go into that original XREF of their title blocks and they, you know, they adjust that way. And that works as well. But what I like about the fields, especially when it comes to the sheet number, is that if you're doing it that way, you're not using the sheet set manager fields. If you have you know, 400 drawings, and right in the middle, your project manager says we need to add 20 drawings, that changes, you know, any drawing from where you're inserting that and then down the line. So you'd have to open up your drawing and you know, change that sheet number, you know, 22, 23. And that takes a lot of time to open up that many drawings, whereas a sheet set, you don't have to open up the files up. You could have, you know, co-op do it, or, again, you don't have to even have the drawings open. You can just come here and rename and renumber, and then this number here is what populates. So as you see here, I can just make this 4, 5, 6, 7, and basically it's just a number and enter. And that takes a lot less time than opening a drawing up, finding this number here, right-mouse clicking on it, changing it to you know, etc. So it just kind of expedites that process.
Great. And then what happens when you make a new tab? So I'm guessing this is either if you make a new layout tab in this same drawing, does it automatically get added to the sheet set, or?
Well, yes and no. So if I just add a new tab, no. But you can create a new sheet. Actually, the new sheet will actually. So yeah, I guess the answer is no. It won't get added to the sheet set. So if I make a new one here, and I can say GP09, I would have to add my title block, add my information. But now that the tab's there, I could, as part of my general plans, I would right-mouse click on general plans, import layout of sheet, and when I click on this, it knows that, whoop, just go back here. Am I in the right one here? General plans, yep. Oh, I gotta save the drawing first. There we go. It's not showing up. Why isn't it showing up here?
Oh, maybe the folder. Were we in the other folder? I don't know.
Ah, yes, I was in the other folder because I'm using my complete sheet set, not the one that we started. Good call. Thank you, Christina. So now we can see that all these other ones are unchecked because they're already part of that sheet set. So all I got to pretty much do is pick my general plans. Here's my new layout tab, import checked, and it populates. And then I can come in here and give it a number, 10. If I had a new drawing and I set my template up that had the title block, what did I do? I could right mouse click on my sheet set and say new sheet. I could give it the number, this is 22, give it a sheet title, however I want, and then it's basically going to pull from my template. So basically create a brand new, create a new sheet for me. And that will add it into the sheet set for me. But for new tabs, once the drawing is already in there, you have to add that in manually.
Great. And then if you could clarify, does the DWT need to be specific to that sheet set?
No. So there's so many different situations where you can use that, and you could have that DWT, that page set of DWT, on a network location. And if you only plot to PDF, for instance, if you only plot 11 by 17 and 24 by 36, and you don't plot anything else, and you're never going to plot anything else, you can keep that on a network location, and every single one of your sheet sets that you make, you can just point to that same one. The reason why I don't recommend that is because there's a lot of different needs. Some people want to plot to their OSE, to their PIP, to their small format printers, or they might have an awkward size. So if you start adding in all these different devices and different sizes to your template, that list can get very large. So you could come in here and say, publish override, and you can see 30 different options in there. That can get overwhelming. So if that's the case, what I would recommend is have one location on your network that has the majority of your, the very basics, your PDFs, maybe your small format printers, or maybe a list of like 5 or 10. And then if you know that that project's going to have very unique page sizes or et cetera, you need different, different printers, I would say copy that, and it's only good for that one project. I'd say copy that DWT to that project folder, and then link your sheet set manager or that sheet set to that drawing template that you just copied. That way you can go into that template, add the page sizes you need that are specific to that project without having your other colleagues, increasing the list size, I guess, if that makes sense.
Great, thank you. And then there was one more that I accidentally jumped over, but best place to start with setting up templates, fields, help, webcast, AU. There's definitely a lot of areas. I know for myself personally, my couple of first sheet sets, I did use documentation from Autodesk University, which is coming up soon. I'm not sure if there's a session for sheet sets specifically, but that's definitely usually one of the popular ones as well. Like we said, this was kind of the first introduction, if you hadn't seen sheet sets, to get a feel for it, but we definitely, based on interest, plan to expand on these so we can start 100% from zero, build a title block, throw in fields, get that all set up. So it sounds like there's a lot of interest in that. I'll definitely make a note and let folks know.
Yeah, and I would definitely love to do that, and I actually started doing that at first when I was talking to Volker, when I wanted to do the sheet set manager, and I figured you should probably start something simple, so that's why I kind of switched it to plotting, because it is a little easier to set up and there's not a lot of customization to do. But the fields are definitely something that I could do another webcast if people want to get into that more. I would show you how to set up the template, make that DWT file for the page setups again, and then basically add these fields. And there's a couple different situations you could use them to. it doesn't have to be a block. You can put some of them as part of into the XREF. So it really depends on how you want to work. And we can definitely go over all that and how these are made, how to bring them in, and you know, how to add them to your sheet set custom properties.
Excellent. All right. So definitely thumbs up. Additional sheet set webinars would be great. Okay, so we'll definitely make sure we've got that out. And that actually kind of removes the need for the last poll, which was how would you like to learn more about fields and sheet sets? But it sounds like we probably have a definite resounding yes on that. So.
Yeah. And this is just, again, a basic title block. I just threw information in. There's no limit to how many fields you can have. I mean, I've never tried to go over 20, but you know, how you want to position them, you know, what you want them to say. You can completely customize them and tailor them to your need.
Okay, so I don't see that we have any more questions right now. So if you wanted, Jason, to maybe put up that last slide with just our upcoming schedule, and if people have more things to put in. Again, as always, if something doesn't come to you right away while you're in the middle of the webinar, feel free to go to the feedback link and post a question about it, and we'll either be able to answer you or we'll say, yep, definite, something we'll put into the future webinars. Yep, there it is. All right, so as we've been telling you, next week there will not be a webinar. Everyone will be home stuffing their faces, watching football, relaxing, and then following that we'll be Autodesk University, so hopefully if we're not able to see you there in person, we'll be able to see some of the virtual events or the documentation afterwards. And then we'll come back in December, and Volker's going to be doing a series on back to basics. So again, for a lot of people, maybe not remember that there are still people who AutoCAD, they're just getting into it for the first time, new users. So we're going to do a series to cover some of those just basic things that are very different in AutoCAD from other programs like Photoshop or Paint. So those will be our next topics. But again, we definitely will make a note that sheet sets are a popular one, so we'll make sure we get those up there. All right, so I don't see any more questions. I don't know if Sean, Caitlin, if you guys had any more closing comments.
Sorry, I was muted as well. You already sort of mentioned it, Christina, but somebody had asked about where to get additional information, and all prior AU classes are saved online. So if you go to au.autodesk.com or just Google for Autodesk University, you can go to any previous year for AU. If you just put sheet set into the search field, like Christina said, there's numerous classes that have been held on it with a multitude of information. So that is a really great place to start.
Okay, well that looks like we've gotten everybody excited for the next couple of webinars and address that, so I'll turn it back to Caitlin to close us out.
All right. Great job today, everybody. Christina, Sean, and Jason, you really did well. I want to thank everybody for coming and joining this webinar. I believe this will also be up on YouTube if you're interested in seeing it again, the demo that Jason provided us. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.